I want to welcome everyone who's in attendance here today and anyone watching this video in the future for us. We are here to discuss our Master of Arts in in Community Psychology here at Point Park. I am Lynn Ribar, the Director of Graduate Admission. I've been at Point Park since 2003, and I am also the admissions counselor for this program. So anyone who's thinking about beginning the application process or working through it, I'll be your single point of contact all throughout that process. And we're also very happy to have with us today a special guest, Dr. Brent Robbins, who is the program director for this program.
This program is one of the only community psychology programs in Pennsylvania. There's one other one, and last time I checked, I think that they were discontinuing it. So we have a program that has been very successful over the years in bringing students into the field of community psychology and putting them into fields where they can utilize that knowledge in all kinds of different career possibilities. So administrators, directors of community programs and human services and mental health and prevention, community education, health promotion, community development, social and community service managers, community researchers, counselors, licensed behavior specialists. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of directions one can take this degree, depending on the career goals of the student. So that's one of the things that I think is worth mentioning. Just the success of the program and its distinctiveness and its uniqueness. It also has a unique orientation. We have a humanistic philosophy and orientation, so we stress the dignity of the person and human rights and a social justice orientation. And we're concerned with understanding the person as a whole within their social context and studying people's lived experiences. We integrate qualitative approaches to research with quantitative approaches to research. What I mean by that is a lot of the work that we do is interviewing people, visiting areas of interest, communities, interviewing people, making observations, and then writing those findings. And then in some cases using assessments like surveys in order to make determinations about the prevalence of pathology within certain kinds of communities, and also well-being, to the extent that people feel a sense of community or belonging within their neighborhood or within their organizations. And then we look at ways that we can use psychology to enhance those outcomes, to prevent pathology, and to increase mental well-being within communities. And what's really distinctive about community psychology and how it differs from clinical psychology is due to this stress on not just what's going on inside the person. So a lot of clinical psychology is concerned with a person's thoughts and their emotions and what's wrong with them and what it means for a person to look healthy when those things are functioning well. And of course, we're interested in all of those things, but we also understand that how people think and their emotional lives and their experiences are embedded within larger social and cultural context. And so we have to understand those contexts in order to understand, how those contexts impact people's experiences, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. So is everybody, are you still with me?
We are here and we hear you loud and clear.
All right, good. So
if anybody has any questions for Brent at any point, we do have our Q&A open. Feel free to enter your questions there and we will get to them at the end of our segment.
Yeah, so yeah, my screen here is freezing up a little. Just give me a second. But yeah, so our community psychology program so our community psychology program starts with certain foundational courses that all students take, the required courses that are listed in the curriculum. For example, uh, usually taught by Bob McInerney, who's a fantastic, very dynamic teacher. And he teaches a course that's a foundational course in community psychology. And then at the same time, students take my course in phenomenological and humanistic approaches. And so in Bob's course, students learn about what it's like to be a community, and how to understand people within their social and cultural context. And then within my course, we learn how to think about people's lived experiences and how lived experience is connected to our social and cultural context. So there's a lot of students who take those courses recognize how they're stressing different things, but they're very complementary and they inform each other. And then students take courses in research methods, qualitative research methods, and quantitative research methods. And then after taking the foundational courses in the program, students go on to internships. So there are practicum opportunities, and all students are required to take at least 6 practicum credits as electives, and also they can take thesis or they can take a research practicum, but they can also choose to do their capstone project as a to do their capstone project as a sorry, my computer's having problems here. They can choose to do their capstone project as an internship. So there's a lot of opportunities for students to actually go and work in the field and get experience and make connections and network. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had a lot of success. A lot of our students are able to do internships, get good experience, and they sometimes get jobs at those internship sites. And at other times, they're able to use the people that they worked under on those internships in order to go on and get jobs elsewhere.
Hi, I just wanted to let you know I'm back, Brent.
Okay.
My power's back on. So if you want, I'll go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint.
Okay. Yeah, we're both getting technical problems, like on my side, and I was also having weird
Yeah,
stuff.
I lost all power, but it did come back pretty quick. So
I get the storm is wreaking havoc.
I think it is. All right. So anyway, yeah, let me go ahead and move along here. Okay, I'll talk quickly about the benefits of graduate school at Point Park, and I apologize if I'm repeating anything that Dr. Robbins already said in his discussion, which I unfortunately was not able to hear that part. There are a lot of wonderful things about being a graduate student at Point Park. You will get small class sizes. You'll have that benefit at a small private school like Point Park. You will know your professors, they will know you. You'll get lots of personalized attention and the opportunity to get to know them, to network with them, and to get all the benefits of their experience. Faculty are such a huge part of the experience at Point Park. They all have incredible industry experience, incredible connections, and above all, just really an intense dedication to student success. And their goal is to see you achieve your professional and personal goals. And they're there to help you with that every step of the way and to go above and beyond. And one of the reasons that we get so many alumni returning back to Point Park is just the quality of the experience that they have, and faculty are just a huge part of that. So it's one thing that all of our students comment on is how wonderful the faculty are. Our career focused learning is also a really important part of Point Park. We've always been a school that is focused on what students can do with their career after, or with their degree after they graduate, and how it fits into their career, whether it's getting into a new field, expanding their personal edification, or moving on to a better step in the career that they're in, or a different organization. You'll find that our degrees are really practical in their focus. Schedules, we'll talk a little bit later about the scheduling in this program, but we've got a lot of flexibility in how you take classes, and our goal is to allow you to go to graduate school while you're doing all the other things you're doing in your life: family responsibilities, job responsibilities, internships, whatever the case might be. Our campus in the heart of downtown is also a really exciting place to be, and we've done a lot to improve that campus. to add to it, to expand it for students in terms of amenities and facilities. And we're looking forward to being back on campus much more than we have been in the past year. We did kind of a high flex model. So we had some students on campus, but obviously not everyone, as we tried to de-densify the campus for COVID safety purposes. And we're really looking forward to being back there this fall. We also have a wonderful professional career readiness center. They are committed to your career success as well. And once you've attended Point Park, you can always come back to the center for assistance with resumes, interviewing, job placements, career counseling, and faculty are also wonderful with that too, again, as they have so many connections in their fields. We also have a graduate student association, and that's a nice opportunity of where you can meet with fellow graduate students to network and learn from them and socialize with them. And they have events not only that involve Point Park students, but also students from other colleges and universities in Pittsburgh, of which there are many. And those also, and they have events and different things for students, and that also provides great opportunities for students to grow and learn. Okay, let me mention quickly the admissions process. Some people who are watching this may already be through this point, but I'll just provide the bare basics of, if you're interested in the program, how you can begin the application process. You start by applying for free on our website. You can see the address there, or just go onto our website and type application on the search bar. You'll come right to it. And then listed below are the elements required for a completed admissions file. So we will need your official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions attended. Typically a 3.0 QPA is required for full admission. Most of the people applying for the program have a degree in a related field. If you, psychology, behavioral sciences, something like that. If you do not have that, then we would expect you to have at least 15 credits of psychology courses to make sure you're prepared for the program. If you have below a 3.0 QPA, if you're close to that, you can still apply. You know, we will review every applicant. There is a faculty review process that goes on there. We do have a process of what we call conditional admission. So it is possible for someone who could be admitted who does not quite meet the 3.0 standard if they show promise in other ways. Other elements we like to see from our applicants: a one-page statement of purpose. This is a great opportunity for you to tell the admissions committee why you're interested in this degree, how it fits into your professional and personal goals, where you see yourself in a few years, you know, with this degree in hand. And that will give them the opportunity to learn a little bit about you and see if they think you're a good fit for the program. We also ask for a resume, just so we have a nice, just as if you were applying for a job, so we have your background and experience summarized there. And we also ask for 2 recommendation letters as well. So those should be from people who know you on a professional or an academic basis. So people who are qualified to speak to your ability to succeed at a graduate level of study. All of those documents can be sent to us via email. Transcripts should be requested from your school so that they come directly from the issuing institution to us. That's considered to be official. The other documents can be, the resume and statement can be attached to the application at the time you apply, or you may email them later. That's totally fine with us. The recommendations, if you have emails for your recommenders, and if they're comfortable using email, you can put their email in at the time of application, and that person will receive an automatic email from our system saying this student is applying for graduate admission to Point Park University. Please click this link to complete the recommendation, and they can do it right online. If you don't have their email, or they're not comfortable with email, or you just rather have them write you a letter, you know, that's totally fine as well. Again, we just ask that it be emailed to us at gradadmission@pointpark.edu. And please feel free to contact us at any time if you have any questions. I will always be in contact with the student once we receive the application, and then I try to follow up, but you're always welcome to check and see, did I receive this document, or, you know, to find out what your status is. I'm always happy to help you with those kinds of things. So that's kind of an overview of the admissions process. Once those documents are all in and your file is complete, we send that up for faculty review, and we usually get a pretty quick decision within a week or so. So it will not be a protracted process by any means. Okay, a few points here on financing your degree. Obviously, a graduate degree is certainly not an inexpensive proposition. We do have many mechanisms at Point Park to help make that investment easier for you. And I do say to students that you should think of the degree as an investment in yourself, and one that will pay off in many ways over the years in terms of your job opportunities, and your salary as well. You know, we live in a world where most people already have a bachelor's degree, so that master's credential can really help you stand out from the crowd. And the kinds of, networking and connections and experience you'll get with this degree really help make it a fantastic value for you. In terms of what we can do to help you, we do offer scholarships. We have graduate merit scholarships for students who have a 3.25 QPA or above, so that will help defray some of your costs. Graduate assistantships may be available. Those will be posted on the website. And if we do have an assistantship available, you'll be notified as a student who has inquired or applied or matriculated. We always notify the students, and so that you'll have a chance to apply for that. The assistantship would allow you to have partial tuition, and then you do work typically 20 hours a week or 10 hours a week, depending on whether it's a half-time or full-time assistantship. And those are determined by the department. We also offer payment plans. If you're choosing to pay out of pocket or you need to pay some out of pocket, you can spread those payments out over time, interest-free. That makes it just a little bit more easy to make those payments without putting too much of a financial strain on yourself. If you're fortunate enough to have employer reimbursement for some or all of your tuition, we offer a deferment plan for those students. And that's a really nice feature that will allow you to extend your payment date out after the end of the semester. If you do have employer reimbursement, many employers like to see grades before they reimburse, and they may reimburse on the basis of grades. So 100% for an A, 90% for a B, depending. Different employers have different policies. But if you do have employer reimbursement, you can complete a tuition deferment form. You pay a small fee, I believe it's $45, and then you provide your employer information before the start of each semester. We verify that you're eligible for those benefits, and then your tuition for the fall semester, instead of being due in August, is not due until 2022, when your employer sees grades and then would reimburse at that time. So that's a really nice feature that, again, makes payment easier. That way you don't have to borrow the money up front while you're waiting for your employer to pay. We will essentially front that money to you and wait until your employer sees grades and reimburses later. If there are any issues with the reimbursement, then we would work out payment arrangements with you at that time. We also offer tuition discount programs. A big one is for our alumni, who receive a 25% discount if they come into a graduate program from an undergraduate program. But we have a lot of employer-based tuition discount programs as well. So I encourage you, if you just go to the website at pointpark.edu, type in tuition discount in the white search bar on the left side, you'll come to a page that shows many of our tuition partners. And if your employer is not there, you can contact us and we might be able to set up an arrangement. The standard employer discount is usually about 20%. And if we are not currently a tuition partner with your employer, contact us. We'll see if we can set something up. There's a process where we just have to sign an agreement, and then that can benefit both parties. But we're certainly always willing to look at those arrangements if we don't currently have one with your employer. And then, of course, loans are an option as well for financing grad school. That is the way that probably most people finance it, at least in part. If you have borrowed for undergraduate schooling, keep in mind you have additional loan funding at the graduate level. The interest rates are relatively low, and the tuition and the loan can often cover all of your tuition, so you may not have to pay anything at all up front. That depends on a number of factors. The main thing for financial aid that you would want to do is complete the FAFSA, Federal Application for Free Student Aid. That's available online, and I'll send you those instructions at the time of application. You don't have to do any other applications, nothing like that. Once we get the FAFSA, our financial aid office will go to work, and they will consider you, once you're admitted, is when they do the packaging process. They will look at you for all aid that you're eligible for and let you know at that time. One other thing we do offer some small graduate grants for students based on need. And that's something a lot of schools do not do at the graduate level. We do offer some need-based grants, and you'll be considered for all of those things just by doing the FAFSA. So I always encourage students, even if you don't want to take out loans, just whatever the case might be, we just encourage you to do the FAFSA just to see what is out there for you. You can always turn it down if you choose not to take it. And if it's a matter of taking out loans, you might decide to borrow a little bit and pay the rest in installments. That's fine too. It's totally up to you, and you can work with financial aid on the specifics of that. That pointpark.edu/gradfinaid there, a website address at the bottom has details on these things. And I always encourage you to feel free to contact financial aid as well. Their contact information is there. They're really the experts on aid. I know a little bit about it, but when you get into the specifics of your situation, you might want to talk to an expert, and our financial aid counselors certainly are that. You can email them or call them, and any counselor on duty can talk to you about your situation. And if you've done the FAFSA, they can give you really concrete answers. If you haven't done the FAFSA yet, they'll be speaking more in generalities about the types of things that someone in your situation would be eligible for. So we do everything we can to make the graduate degree affordable. We feel it's a great value, and we hope that you'll consider an investment and one worth making. We know that many of our alumni are really happy that they made the investment in Point Park. Okay, I'll just mention briefly, I think Dr. Robbins may have been speaking about this. We do offer flexible class schedules as well. This program has a nice mix of weekday, evening, and now some online classes as well. And that does allow you, again, to fit the degree around the rest of the things that are going on in your life, work responsibilities, volunteer situations, families, all of those things. It's a degree that allows you to that kind of flexibility that's really helpful for the busy professionals that we have in our program. Okay.
Yeah, that was a big thing. And there was a point in our program where, we had a more restricted schedule. So we've really been very intentional in making classes more widely available at different times. So, working students will be able to take those classes. And now we have online as well as on-ground opportunities.
Right. And the online classes are fully asynchronous, by the way, at Point Park typically. So that means you generally do not have to be online at a particular time. If you do, you will certainly be notified of that, but it does offer a great deal of flexibility. And we know that many students, particularly after the past years, many people, some of them were forced into online study who weren't looking for it, have found that it does offer a really attractive alternative. So that is part of this program beginning this fall for the first time. We're very excited about that.
Yeah, and if you don't like online, you don't have to do online either.
Right.
There's on ground.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was going to be your portion of the program, and I don't know, Dr. Robbins, if you talked about this already.
I talked a little bit about it. Yeah. Now, so
Right.
the unique theoretical orientation, I mentioned the humanistic and phenomenological approach. I can say a little bit more about that. The humanistic psychological tradition is, I would say, really in vogue right now. Like even when we started the program, it was still a more marginal approach. But now it's like you open mainstream journals and it's like the hot thing. Everybody's talking about lived experiences and multiculturalism and even things like mindfulness. Those concepts were really pioneered within the subdiscipline or the theoretical orientation of humanistic psychology going back to the 1930s. And so we're really proud of that philosophical foundation. And we have a national and international reputation. There was an award for one of our undergraduate programs that we got from the Society for Humanistic Psychology, which is a division of the American Psychological Association. So people recognize that we have this theoretical orientation, and they look to our faculty as being leading experts in that. So one of the benefits that students get when they participate in our programs is they sort of get that halo, that comes along with being this distinctive program that has a reputation for understanding people in ways that are more holistic and stressing an ethic of human dignity and paying attention to qualitative research as well as quantitative research. That's now really trendy, but it wasn't a while ago. So I think that's a real draw. A lot of students want to come to our program because of that. And then I did talk about the community versus clinical psychology distinction. Clinical psychology is mainly looking at what's inside the person. And community psychology is interested in what's going on inside the person, but it's interested in how what's going on inside the person is connected to social, cultural, and communal context. And then how to, like a lot of clinical interventions are focused on, how to help people change their thoughts, by changing the way you think. And then that can have an impact on your emotion. That would be cognitive therapy. Or maybe looking at your personal developmental history like psychoanalysis does. Those are all wonderful, but they're limited in that they don't always pay attention, and they typically don't pay attention to the larger cultural context within which a person is operating. Just to give you an example, I played a little trick on one of my classes in the master's program where I gave them a description of a case of a person, and actually, in fact, they were following the protocols for COVID by the CDC, and I even gave them the date, right, which had been right at the peak of COVID and the lockdowns in the United States. And then I asked them, whether they thought she fit any of the descriptions of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And a lot of the students said, "Oh, it's obsessive compulsive disorder," because she's washing her hands and and social distancing, and so I pointed out that, wait a minute, this is March. What was it? March of 2020. It was right at the height of the pandemic. So those behaviors outside of that context might be abnormal or deviant or strange and maybe harmful. But when she was following the guidelines of the CDC, her behavior was normative, right? She was simply following the directions of the institutions that were telling us what we could do to protect ourselves and protect other people. So social context, that illustrates the power of social context. What might be pathological in one context might not be in another context. It might be adaptive, or somebody might learn in their community to cope with stress in a particular way that makes sense within that context. But then maybe they're an immigrant and they're coming to a new context, and so what was normative now looks to the clinicians as pathological. So we look at those we take all that context into consideration, and then we also study ways that we can use community interventions to help people, help them build social support networks, and create communities that help people feel more like they belong, that there's more inclusiveness, which we know is linked to mental health, help people lift themselves out of poverty, which we know is directly correlated with mental health. And just a few examples. So that's how community psychology is different than clinical psychology. And also, clinical psychology is mostly focused on how people go wrong, like when people are broken. And we're interested in that too, but we're also interested in how we can make people flourish, right? And really live, not just get them back to normal, but help them become happy, and to flourish in their life and to be successful. And yeah, is that all I was supposed to talk about at this point? Thesis and I did mention thesis and practicum options. So students have the opportunity to choose, a thesis, a research practicum, or a community practicum. That's a nice option. Usually students don't get that choice. They usually have to, they get told what to do. But you could, if you really want to do a master's thesis and something that's more scholarly, which is what I might recommend for somebody who might want to go on to get their doctorate, then you can do that. But if you really want to get practical experience and you want to get more experience in networking opportunities in the field, then that could be your capstone project. Or if you want to work with faculty on their research projects, you can do a research practicum, and that can lead to publication, which can also be a good way of preparing for grad school or a community research career. So there's lots of options and flexibility. I think that's one of the big strengths of this program is you can get the degree relatively quickly because there's not very many credits, and you have to take these foundational courses. Two of them I mentioned while we were having technical problems: Foundations of Community Psychology and Humanistic and Phenomenological Approaches. So I might mention psychopathology, which we look at psychopathology within the context of society and culture. And so we bring in not just psychological, but sociological and anthropological perspectives. And we have a course in social psychology and cultural transformation, so how to use concepts in social psychology to help create positive social change. And then there's a program development, evaluation, and assessment course, which teaches you how to develop community and clinical programs and then set them up so that you can evaluate and assess their success. And there's a great demand for that in the field. A lot of people don't know how to do that, or they don't want to do it, and they're willing to hire you to do it. And then ethical and professional issues gives you the professional ethics that you need to pay attention to in order to be an ethical professional in the field. And then there's the research methods courses, both quantitative and qualitative approaches. And then from there, though, you have 3 potential electives that you can choose, and there's a wide variety of courses to choose from, and you can see them listed here. I'm not going to list them out for you, but depending on, and we're probably, I should mention, since you're just going to be coming into the program this summer, me and some of the other faculty are meeting to explore the idea of sort of concentrations within the master's program, that where we would offer sort of clusters of electives for students that really wanted to concentrate in a particular area of community psychology. So forensic is an application, applying community psychology to law, which is big right now. I mean, everybody's concerned about problems with policing and law enforcement and social justice issues around that. And they're talking about, well, maybe we need to bring in social workers. Well, how about community psychologists become part of that conversation? We have things to offer that are solutions. So we think students who want to specialize in that could do that. A lot of our students are interested in applying the arts to community interventions, using the arts as a form of community intervention, or integrating arts into community intervention. Because people love to participate in the arts, it's a great way to build a community. And so we're looking to bring courses in there. So there's going to be even more courses and opportunities for concentrations coming down the road, so you can sort of hop on that if you want to, once you enter into the program. But for now, officially, these are the courses that are listed, and there's some special topics courses, that also get offered that are not listed here, but will, for example, one of our new faculty taught a course on the political unconscious, which is a fascinating class where she was looking at how sort of politics, political structures influence how people think, and influence their behavior, often in ways that they might not be aware. And students had very positive feedback about that, so I hope she teaches it again.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I wasn't. I wish I could take the class. I'll have to sit in on it because it sounded really fascinating. Or get her to give a presentation on it for faculty and students who didn't get a chance to take the class, because I'd like to hear more about what she's doing. It sounds really interesting. So there's a lot of different courses you can take. We have, the other thing I want to mention is contemplative studies is a very popular concentration. So you can see we have courses in mindfulness and Buddhist psychology, psychology of religion and spirituality. So if you wanted to do community psychology and apply it so that you could go into more religious communities and apply it there, there's opportunities to get concentrations there. So depending on what you want to do in your career, there's lots of options. And, depending on what the interest is, we pay attention to the students in the program, and that drives what courses we offer. So if we know that there's students that really want to develop in a particular area, then we'll make sure we put that on the curriculum that year so they can get that on their course. So we're really kind of bottom up in the way we offer courses. Because every cohort's a little different. So we want, when we get students coming in, first thing I want to know is what are their career aspirations? What do they want? Your letters help understand that. And then we make sure we have courses that are going to fulfill the needs of those students that are in the program. And if we can't do it, if somebody's kind of idiosyncratic, you're just a N of one, then we can do independent studies,
That's great. Yeah, I've always been impressed with this program, with the ability that students have to really tailor it to their interests, because you have such a wide range of electives, and it seems like it would really allow you to go in a lot of different directions and tailor the degree so it really meets the individual's needs, and everything you've said just confirms that.
And it's unusual. I mean, most programs are very kind of rigid. They and the other thing you mentioned, Lynn, it feels weird to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna say this about my colleagues, not so much about myself, although hopefully I belong in that category too. But I know that my colleagues are fantastic teachers. One of the things that really drew me here to Point Park is the teaching. There's such a great reputation for teaching in the psychology program, and that's a very important part of what we do in our reputation in the community. So just ask. I would say, don't believe me, just ask people. I think you'll find that people who are alumni will talk about how, just like Lynn said, we'll talk about how strong the teaching is. We have some very, very charismatic and dynamic teachers. Whenever our teachers are giving a presentation on campus, I make sure I go, because I know it's gonna be fascinating. So I think that's one of our big strengths, because a lot of schools out there, faculty teaching is kind of a second thought. Their primary goal is research, which is important, and we care about research too. But I think most of our faculty, teaching is their number one priority. They love teaching. They're here all the time. Like, people don't go home. You know what I mean? Like, they stay late because not just because they're workaholics, but because they enjoy working with students. And they'll be here. You come in any day on campus, except for when COVID happened, of course, when there was a lockdown. But on a normal day, all of our faculty are in their offices meeting with students. So there's an availability that I think is unusual based on other places that I've been employed prior to Point Park. This faculty are present, available, and they love it when they meet with students. That's what they're all about. So we're very student centric, and I think that's why we have this philosophy of a very kind of bottom up, student centered, curriculum. We want to provide a lot of flexibility so students can sort of, humanistic psychologists would say, so they can self actualize. Find what meets their needs, and we want to create the flexibility so students can do that rather than fitting them into a mold.
Right. Yeah, and I think the proof of how strong this department is, you can just see it in the number of our undergrads that do come through back for the graduate program, whether they go right into it or they take a couple of years off and come back. And it's because they're getting, such a great experience academically, and the faculty are, yeah, absolutely the single biggest reason for that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you see, it is true. We get a lot of alumni coming back. I mean, just our PsyD program, clinical psychology, I'll use as an example, in addition to the master's program. When we first started our PsyD program, it wasn't licensed. I mean, it wasn't accredited. And so students were taking a big risk because they could come and take our program, and we might not get accredited. They wouldn't have been able to get licensed. So we had students, alumni, that came back to take just because they wanted to come back and have their degree with us, and they were willing to take that risk. I was very grateful for that, because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have been able to get a program at all. If we didn't have students, we wouldn't have been able to get the accreditation. But I think that was sort of good karma, from treating our students well and good teaching. We got blessed by having students that trusted us and didn't really want to go anywhere else but here. Now that other students go elsewhere, that's not saying our alumni have to stay with us. Sometimes there's some good reasons to go and study elsewhere where maybe they want to develop a particular specialty. But yeah, I think that's true. We have a lot of our students. There's a loyalty to our students, and they stay in touch with us for the most part. And yeah, and we love it too. We really enjoy developing those relationships with students. It's really congruent with our whole community orientation. We try to bring that to the work. We try to create healthy community among ourselves as faculty and with students.
Right. Thank you. And one more slide I added, speaking of alumni, these are a few of our alumni these are all profiled on our website. So you're free to go to the community psychology page of the pointpark.edu website, and you can check out links for all of these students. I think it just kind of gives you an idea of the breadth of what people are doing. And this is just a small number. I know there are many more that are not represented here, but whether they're working in nonprofit organizations, they're pursuing doctoral degrees, working out in the community. There are a lot of, there's just so many things that students can do with this degree, and this is just a small representation of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned alumni coming back. Kevin, I think, is coming back to take the PhD. So
is he?
Out the
Okay.
field, and now he's coming back. He wants to get his doctorate. And
Great.
Tate got her community engagement doctorate, and it's another program, not in psychology, but psychology faculty teach in that program, and we help.
Oh, wow, great. We'll have to update our webpage.
Yeah. So yes, and then she also is a faculty member. So is Kevin. They both taught part-time for us, and continue to teach part. Well, Leah, I think, continues to teach for us, and then Kevin taught for us for a while, and now he's back. So I think that's a good example of how students kind of go out, they get jobs, they get the field, and when they want to go on and advance their degree, they tend to come back to us.
Absolutely. Well, that's the end of our formal presentation. I just want to mention again that we are available for questions at any time. Our contact information is here, and this will be uploaded to the website, and our information, of course, is available on the website. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions about the program or the process. And if it's anything I can't answer, I'll be happy to refer you on to Dr. Robbins as well. And I wanted to make sure and leave some time here to see if anyone had any questions that they wanted to ask while we're here. And I don't know, I'll make sure that we don't have anything in the chat or Q&A.
We might have lost the person that we had on there.
Okay. All right. Well, then I think we can go ahead and wind things up. And I don't know, Dr. Robbins, if there's any closing comments you would like to make.
Well, I would just like to say, just like Lynn said, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm available. Don't be shy. Don't feel like, oh, I don't want to bother him by asking me questions. I actually, that's fantastic for me when we have prospective students that are interested in the program. It makes me happy, and I want to be helpful, and and I'll help you discern whether it's the right choice for you too. I'm not there to try to convince you to go to a program that you don't need or it's not right for your career. So I'll make sure if this isn't the right fit for you, I might be able to give you some ideas about what directions you could take, maybe at another university or in another program at our university. So happy to talk to you and help you do a little career counseling in addition to advice on what you might need to do to prepare for your application.
Great. And once again, I want to thank everyone for watching today, and I hope to hear from you soon. If you have any questions about the program, we'll be happy to help. Thank you all very much.